been quite a day
It's
today.
been a week and a day.
And a day, yes.
That's right. So we're excited. We're going to have Dr. Jamal Bryant on today.
Yes.
We're going to be talking about a lot of different things. Georgia's on our mind, but there's some things going on in D.C. too. And there's a lot of things to talk about. I'm sure he's got wisdom and information stuff to share with us.
Yeah, he was on the front line in Georgia,
right.
On that campaign, and I mean,
working with Reverend Warnock and joined. Yeah.
Thank you. We're just getting them on right now, so it's going to be exciting. So exciting! So here we go. Hi, Pastor.
Hey, everybody.
How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderfully well. Good to see you all.
Good to see you, man.
Too.
I didn't know I was supposed to wear a hat to the occasion.
I know. We wear hats because Pastor, my hair is probably white, and on
It
the
looks good, though.
Thank you. Yeah, because you can't see it. On the days I can't get with Miss Clara,
Yes.
I puts on a hat.
No, you look vibrant.
Thank you.
I love the glasses.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, we are so excited and blessed to have you on. I got to read what I wrote, actually. Pastor Jamal Bryant, pastor, visionary, civil rights advocate who melds his biblical teaching with social and political activism. And he reminds us of pastors of old, like Dr. Martin Luther King, Reverend Abernathy, Reverend Joseph Lowry, and Reverend Sharpton. But he has also brought in that new perspective where we can talk about BLM and white evangelism versus the Black church and systematic racism, and working against voter suppression and breaking down social and economic barriers. We have none other than the esteemed Dr. Pastor Bryant.
Thank you. I'm honored to be on with you guys. Thank you.
And I'm telling you, I feel like we couldn't have you on a better week, Pastor.
Yes.
No, this has been great.
The stuff that's been going on this week, we're looking for you, your guidance this week, and just to kind of enlighten us. It's been a heavy week, really, for all of us. And we wanted to talk with you about that. Before we do that, though, I want to talk to you a little bit about your background. I love doing that kind of thing. I was ignorant. I had no idea how educated you were.
Wow. All right. Thank you.
I
That's a doctorate from Oxford.
I know.
Theology. I said, wow,
Oxford. You know, our pastor does too, Bishop Kenneth C. Omer.
Oh, yeah, no, you got one of the brightest and best in the body.
Yeah.
Yes.
I went to Duke. I said, oh,
Duke.
man,
And I told Claude, I said,
the only problem, he's a Catholic, but that's okay.
He's an Omega.
I got it. It was the right year, just the wrong colors.
So, but,
They got red on today.
you know, I wanted to tell you a couple little secrets too. You were born, of course, in Baltimore, Maryland, but I don't know if you knew this. I knew about your church and everything way before I met you, that it was one of the largest, I guess it was the fastest growing church in AME. I was raised AME.
Yes. Where are you?
In San Mateo, California, near San Francisco, St. James AME Zion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, and so I realized, I said, oh, well, that's where all that education and stuff is coming from, because AME is on that. You want to tell us a little bit about that journey while you were in Baltimore? And
I'm actually originally from Boston, Massachusetts, home of New Edition, and then was raised in Baltimore. And you talk about my education. That's really funny because I failed the 11th grade. I got kicked out of high school, and I have a GED. And I'm actually the first person Morehouse College let in with a GED.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, they let me in on probation.
Right.
Yeah.
well, you did all right.
You did
Yeah,
all
I did
right,
okay.
man.
And
But that's right. Oh, wow. Go ahead,
I
bro.
graduated not summa cum laude, but thank you,
Get
Lord.
out of here.
I barely graduated.
Lordy, you graduated, Lordy. Huh?
Yes. I have one sister. She's 2 years younger than me. She lives in California and is a clinical therapist and is a tenured professor at Pepperdine. And
I have a MBA from Pepperdine.
oh wow, I got to connect y'all off the air.
Yeah.
She was the child my parents deserved. She she went to Duke and got her bachelor's, master's, and PhD, and was their prize student. And a lot of people don't know this. My sister got me into Duke.
She hooked you up.
Yeah, she went over to the dean and put in a good word for me. And I went to Duke University, which really means a lot to both my sister and I. Because 45 years before we were students at Duke, our grandfather was the head cook at Duke University.
What?
And the time that he worked there, African Americans couldn't go to the school.
That's right.
They could only go there whether they were mowing the lawn or pouring lemonade for the professors.
Wow.
So for both my sister and I, to have graduated from Duke really means a lot.
That's right, I'm sure.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, I was also very interested to find out that you've always been into activism, even before you started preaching and being a pastor.
Yes.
You were an organizer of some type of NAACP. Tell us about that.
I was the National Youth and College Director of the NAACP.
Okay. Wow.
So I was over 50,000 young people. And here's where my real foray, my big moment came, is I was the one who helped bring together the Peace Summit during the East Coast, West Coast rap rivalry.
Okay.
So I was the one working with Russell Simmons to try to pull that.
Okay, now this is all making sense to me.
And where I really, my big moment, as it were, is I did the funeral for Biggie Smalls in New York. Yeah, and so that really launched me.
You got to be kidding.
No, that's what launched me into the hip hop world. A small story.
You know what? Now this is all making perfect sense.
So I'm gonna give you my last story till we go to y'all's interview. So a lot of
we're just talking.
What a lot of people don't realize is that Tupac is from Baltimore.
Yes.
And so he went to School for the Arts with Jada Pinkett and with my sister.
With your sister.
Yeah. So I met Tupac through my sister, and amazing story. Most people know he was disconnected from his dad, who was in the Black Panther Party. So my dad, Bishop Bryant, enrolled me in the Morehouse and enrolled Tupac in the Clark Atlanta.
I mean, you are blowing my mind.
Oh no, I haven't finished telling you. So we go to.
I have none of this stuff. We couldn't find out none of
this.
It's
not Googleable. So
Googleable. I'm telling you, man.
So both of us enrolled in the Atlanta University Center at the same time, and in October was homecoming, and when homecoming came, we had a guest hip hop group. Your daughter would know them. Digital Underground. Yes. So Digital Underground came. Yeah, that's it. That was the dance through the Humpty Dance. Yes. So Tupac dropped out of Clark. He dropped out of Clark to be their roadie. So he only did a half semester at Clark and never came back to school. Needless to say, my parents were pissed, but
Pastor,
the rest is history.
This is golden. There's so many things now that make sense to me.
Yes.
That because I'm like, he's doing this and he's doing this, and I was going to ask you how all this came together, but I see how this came together. Well, I had heard so much about you and about your preaching when I started my company, and I don't know if you knew this, but because of your demographic, not only were this large church that was growing, but you were in the area with the #1 Walmart for Black consumers in the country.
Oh, wow, I did not know that.
We would pass flyers and stuff around at your church to try to get the church members, etc., to know about our artists like Kirk Franklin, Kirk Hart, all that. Right. And that area would be the #1 in sales in the country. Wow. Just about all gospel artists. You would have to do that first before anything else. So I didn't know if you knew that. And then I guess we've been knowing each other a little bit and passing through. And
yes. The last time we saw you was in Los Angeles. Kobe had hosted that premiere.
Kobe Bryant.
Yes. For Just Mercy premiere. Yep. And that was a beautiful event too.
And what was special for all of us then is that was his last public appearance.
Yes.
Yes. So we got to put that in our collective book.
Yeah. But
you were one of the last to be with Kobe Bryant.
Because I remember I ran up to you and I said, Pastor Vicki, and you said hello and were very gracious. And then Kobe talked and Jamie Foxx was there.
And Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, in a very intimate setting and talked to us. And he passed a few weeks later, I guess.
It was
less than a few weeks.
Well, it was in 2019.
No, 2020.
Under 2 weeks.
Yeah,
under 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was quick. So we love you and we enjoy seeing you. But
love you all. Let me thank you all really for being unsung heroes of really shifting the gospel music industry.
Oh, thank you.
Really, after Thomas Dorsey, probably one of the most influential people, and the reason why it's significant is that you all helped change the sound of gospel without being musicians.
Thank you.
And that's very important and very critical, and that it's really admirable because so many of our young people only know the stage, but don't know the curtain. That the real power is behind the curtain.
That's right.
Season of social media, everybody wants to be seen, but don't even know that where the real influence is. So I want to really thank you.
Well, thank you. It's not been easy, and I see it now. I get it why you have been so involved in entrepreneurial ventures and home owning for your church, because now, of course, you have matriculated, not the right word, but migrated. You now in Lithonia.
Yes, that facility. Yeah, right.
But
part of it is how you talk about behind the scenes. You've been working diligently. Let's talk about this last election.
Yeah.
Reverend Warnock getting the vote out, working with Stacey Abrams, and you've accomplished something from my perspective that's, you have a Black senator from a southern state.
But all the more, what is important for people to know is not just a Black senator, it's the very first time Black clergy have been in Senate since Reconstruction.
Black clergy since Reconstruction.
Yeah, so it is not just a defining moment for the Democrats, but it is a reawakening for the Black church.
Amen.
Because the Black church has really been absent of the conversation of where it is that we are. What is amazing, Vicki, is the Black Lives Matter movement is the very first civil rights movement for the history of Black people that was not birthed out of the church.
Out of the church.
Come on.
It not only doesn't have one birthed out of church, but does not have religious leadership. Yeah, at all.
And so the Black church didn't know how to support Black Lives Matter because we haven't had any real conversations about LBGT. We didn't know how to deal with it because the Black church doesn't know how to deal with women in leadership.
Yes.
And we didn't know what to do when it is that is being led by people who are not ordained. And so the Black church was really lost as to how do we support something that we don't lead.
I never thought about that,
Right.
but you're so right.
But
and we don't have a song.
Right.
It's the first time we haven't had a song.
There's no soundtrack. You got to fix that.
You got to fix that. But you probably bring out a really good point, because the church failed in that way.
Yeah.
And not being a voice to speak out. And it's interesting, God will use anybody to speak out against injustice. And we need to recognize that, and that God is not for injustice.
You have two reasons why it has not happened. Number one, the civil rights movement came historically out of not just black churches, but black colleges. So it came out of North Carolina A&T, Fisk, out of Howard, out of Morehouse. The Black Lives Matter movement came out of Twitter and Instagram,
Right.
which is different because those in the civil rights movement had mentors. They practiced in the classroom before they went into the demonstration. They were in the basement of the churches. The second thing that has happened, and I hope I don't get in trouble.
Go ahead, speak.
The second thing that has happened is the dummying down of preachers. And the reason why that's so important is that whoever you name, and I'm going to ask the four of us, since we having this conversation, to not name them, but whoever you would list as the top 10 black preachers in the country right now, I don't care what the denomination, the top 10, and when I say top 10, I'm saying most known. So those of y'all from Mount Sinai Missionary Baptist, I ain't talking about your pastor.
Right.
The 10 most known have no education.
Right.
And I'm not talking about seminary. They don't have a bachelor's. And so they are preaching out of their own reservoir of a limited experience that really does not have the civil rights training of the classroom. So they're doing a wonderful job of preaching Jesus, but they're failing at preaching social gospel. And so there is a shift that has happened since the assassination of Dr. King. We stopped preaching the movement and started promoting individual ministries.
Right.
So now everybody got lapel pins, everybody got a title, everybody got a position, but nobody has taken a stand. So you're seeing a disconnect. How old is your daughter? How old is your daughter?
39.
She's an old girl. She just looks young.
Oh, you too old. So let me say that for millennials, the thing that is frightening about millennials is that this is the largest demographic of black people in America who claim to love God but won't go to church.
Yeah.
So millennials and Gen Xers, they know scripture. They got the 23rd Psalm tattooed on their chest. They got John 3:16 on their neck. They wear a crucifix around their chain, but will not go to church. And the reason why black churches are growing in the pandemic is because the young people who wouldn't go to church are now watching online. They will watch online because now they can wear it and wear jeans. They can wear Jordans. They can have piercings in their tongues and not be judged. So the church owes the incoming generation an apology because we really don't believe in grace. We believe in the law. And if we would just expand for grace, then I think that the churches would be able to expand and be able to do.
Well, Pastor, I am a millennial. I'm at the very beginning.
You sneaking in. You sneaking in.
I am.
You sneaking in.
I snuck in because I'm 81. I'm 81, but everything you're saying
1981 is what you're trying to say.
Yes.
I thought you were trying to say you're 81 all of a sudden.
No, but what you're saying is absolutely true, and I love my online church. That doesn't mean to say that I don't want to worship or study or anything like that, but I like to visit your church on a Sunday, TD Transformation, Faithful. I'll do all that on a Sunday. I and through the week, but I hear what you're saying.
And you are able to connect because what the pandemic has done is snatch the theater away from church.
Yes.
So there is no drama. It is only substance.
Yes.
So the average millennial and Gen Xer is going to 3 different services on Sunday. And
really?
nobody,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Here's what's crazy. Nobody is talking about what the choir sang. It's a redefining moment for the Black church because the pastor has to say something beyond turn to my neighbor.
Yeah.
More than shake these people by the hand.
Crazy turn to my neighbor. I'm saying,
and
I ain't
a lot of
turning
pastors
to you no more, and don't hug me. So, and what over that with COVID, that won't be happening, and I'm so happy.
Right.
We're thirsty for that. We're thirsty for that.
But Pastor, I think there's 2 things going on, because you're right on the Black side, that's going on. But on the white side, which there shouldn't be sides in the church, you've got a very disenfranchised, unhappy group of white people who left England to come over here because they weren't accepted. They weren't, who all of a sudden has gotten some acceptance in this church thing and in being in the MAGA church, the Trump church. All of a sudden, white folks weren't accepting a lot of these church folks. They thought of them, I know, because just working in the music business in New York and stuff, the way those white people would talk about Christians from the South, they looked down on them. And for a fleeting moment with Trump, they had an opportunity, since getting off their boats, to come over here to be somebody. And I feel like they're very reluctant to let it go. I'm leading into this whole thing right now with the so-called prophets and the division between Black and white in the church. And I know I've been very concerned even about what I saw with Paula White, and I've been watching your preaching on that. And I had to ask my husband, I said, can you call African angels? I did not know you can do that. And he was talking about angels having dominion, but I didn't know they had a race and all this kind of stuff. So can you talk to us about that? I mean, I think the biggest problem involved with the church is we're fighting right here as Black whites in the church.
Yeah, it is argued that the most segregated hour in America is Sunday at 11 o'clock. And that is how we have the, quote, Black church, because we had to politicize sanctification, is that we couldn't take communion. You find a lot of these, quote, multicultural churches where they let Negroes sing, but none of the Black people that go to those churches are on the finance committee.
Just right.
So that
they ain't anywhere in the music business either, which is why I started my label. Yeah.
So what you saw Wednesday, where I want to say what CNN won't say, Wednesday, what we saw in D.C. were Christians.
Yes.
These were not atheists.
Jesus saved
Yeah, these were not atheists. And so we're seeing the last vestiges of slave religion at work. And it is their insecurity. Yeah, it is their insecurity of knowing that their time is up. I have one sister. Wow. She's 2 years younger than me. And when my sister was born, they brought her in from the hospital. I'm 2. I didn't want to see her. I didn't want to play with her.
Right.
I had her blanket. I was kicking over her bottle. Why? Because I wanted to be the only one.
Wow.
So what you were seeing on Wednesday on Capitol Hill is the snatching of blankets, the kicking over of bottles, of white anarchists who are having tantrums because they thought they would be the only one. So they never in a million years, they were all right with a Black man slipping through to be president. They didn't think one term later, a Black woman would be vice president. Yes, so let's not forget, Vicki, the largest voting bloc for Donald Trump was white women. That's the largest voting
The Karens of the world. That's
they really felt slighted because they thought, because they led ERA and were the founders of NOW, that they would in fact lead the shift for white women to assume the helm, and never saw Kamala Harris coming.
Right.
They thought it was going to be Elizabeth Warren.
Right.
Sister hopscotch over her and does it, so you have the whole system imploding. So you got to ask the critical question: why in the world would Donald Trump make Paula White his go-to evangelist? What nobody is talking about is Paula White raised more money than any other evangelical in the country. In 1 year, Paula White, drum roll, gave the Donald Trump campaign in 2016 $45 million.
Now that's
y'all again.
She
gave $45 million, and it wasn't for the campaign. Hear this: it was to pay for the inauguration. So you have somebody who was paid and built a stage off the backs of black people.
Wow.
Support.
Because that's a predominantly black church he has, isn't it?
No, it's Zachary Tim's church. Not predominantly. It's all black.
It's all black.
It's all black.
Tell it.
Yeah. And so it's what Malcolm X said: is the chickens coming home to roost. That we are now being traumatized by our Frankenstein.
That
we created Paula.
You are so deep.
We created Paula, and then when she turns around and assaults her creator, we act shocked when she made all of her money on our pulpits. You can't, all of us who are on this live, we've been in every major black church in America. The four of us have been in every major black church in America. And I'm saying to you, I'm going to have a moment of silence for you all to tell me 3 major white churches she's preached in. I'll wait.
Pastor, don't wait. It's like holding your breath. It's like holding your breath.
I want to know what Sunday you saw her at Lakewood. I need to know what was the Sunday you saw her preaching for Jensen Franklin. I want to know when was she at John Hagee.
Right.
We ordained her. So they thought, evangelicals did, bring Paula in because she can help us get the black vote.
Exactly.
Yeah. So they sent her in as a Trojan horse, and she utterly failed. So when it is that she utterly failed, they then hired her, Vicki, which nobody's talking about. She gave up Zachary Tim's church and worked full time at the White House. As we speak, Paula White has a desk in the White House.
I knew that. I knew she had a desk at the White House. Her position is personal advisor. Spiritual advisor.
Well, I don't even know if it's fair to ask you, but there's only really one church. How? I don't know. Are we going to come together? I know the stuff we went through.
We're going to come together. We're going to come together when the Lord returns. And here's what I want to say to you, Vicki, and people are going to be mad with me. 3 people are going to log off. Let me say this. In the Old Testament, whenever the Lord raised up a prophet, he raises up a prophet for his people.
Yes.
He does not raise up a prophet to speak to another nation.
Exactly.
It is only he lifts up a prophet to speak to his people and to speak to principalities.
Right.
It is only in this false notion of multiculturalism that we really believe this whole "we are the world" soundtrack. It is only in heaven that we all come together.
Right.
But in this moment, our journeys with God is different. Our experience with God is different. So there's a book out by a feminist theologian that says a white woman's Christ, a black woman's Jesus. So none of our mothers...
You're going to make me run out of this car.
None of our mothers called him Christ. We called him Jesus. Our experience dictates where it is that we are with them and how it is that we walk out our soul salvation. So you are drawn to what you identify with. You relate to what is the aspect of Jesus who you know. So watch what Jesus does. Jesus changed his language based off of his audience. So when he's speaking to housewives, what does he talk about? A lost coin. When he's talking to shepherds, what do you talk about? Sheep. He always speaks in the vernacular of who it is that he's addressing. It is only Negroes that run into these white churches that don't speak to their pain, don't speak to their perplexity, don't speak to their issues. I want to know.
And don't sing their music.
Listen to me. I want to know if by far, hear me, I'm going to go out on a limb. If Bishop Jakes is the greatest preacher of this generation, and I believe that he is, right, I need to know why not 15% of the Potter's house is not white. I'll leave it to y'all. If we in Texas, we ain't in Alabama.
Right.
You in Texas, where they live across the street. It is only us that moves beyond this place of multiculturalism, but we only do it in one dimension. We only do it in going out. We never do it in coming in. And there's got to be a place where we don't just come together with the Black church and the white church for Martin Luther King's birthday.
Right.
We don't just come together when we're doing a candlelight vigil. We don't just come together when some kid has been killed at an elementary school. But the rest of the year, there is a great divide, and the water fountain might as well say colors only, because we're not really coming together.
Yeah. Well, you know, let me just interject one point here, is that what happens is there's a lack of respect and love between the Black Christian and the white Christian, and not in general, but in specific. And so what happens is, you know, it would be okay if we were in our own separate places, but we can't even get together to do things. In other words, the white church, even though it's separated, which is in one sense, somebody can say okay, but they are moving in ways to continue to marginalize the Black.
And our experience.
Right. So to me, the issue, I'm not against so much separation, but I don't want separation with humiliation and all the other stuff that they put into it.
So the catapult of Trump's campaign in 2016, the catapult of it was led by evangelicals.
Come on, talk to me.
They raised two different issues. Here are the issues that evangelicals stood on: same-sex marriage and abortion. And they used that as the litmus test to say this is the all-encompassing measure or rod of Christianity. When evangelicals deluded the church in not realizing neither of those issues were on the ballot. Neither of those issues are in front of the Supreme Court. It is already law. But I want to know how they hopscotched over, have you considered the poor? I want to know in their Christianity how they gave absolutely no measure for a livable wage. How they said nothing about the fact of housing disparity or food insecurity or health insurance. I need to know, as Black Christians who go to these white churches, how it is that they earmark to give to Israel 17 times the funding, I need you all to hear this, than the entire continent of Africa. The entire continent of Africa gets less than the nation of Israel. Why? Because the Jewish community advocates for what it is that they stand for. I need to know, when do we call the Congressional Black Caucus to say, where is your Africa agenda? Where is your Caribbean agenda? Where's your West Indian agenda? But we never speak to any of them. All we're looking at is, I got $600. So because I got my $600, we move into a tailspin. I got to tell y'all this. I have, in the pandemic, fed 500,000 people in 40
years. We're checking that out.
Here's what happened. We lost our funding back in August because we did it with the Department of Agriculture. The Department of Agriculture, come September, said, let's stop giving support. This came out of the White House. Now the election, I ain't tell all of it. They sent a letter from the Department of Agriculture, stop giving the resources to New Birth. The president said it because Jamal Bryant is speaking against my administration and speaking.
He specifically targeted you.
Oh yeah. I was the largest feeding hub for this entire region. The people wouldn't cut us off. He then said, in order for us to give these boxes of food, that we had to insert a letter in the boxes that this is courtesy of President Donald Trump.
Sure.
You stop.
Okay.
All of this I have in writing. So this is courtesy of President Donald Trump. We said we're not going to do it. Now, I had to cut it off, but I'm trying to figure out, because I'm feeding 8,000 people a week. Do I make this political stand and not do it? Or do I go forward with it and just bite the bullet? I got up, did a live on social media, and said, hey, y'all, this is what I'm facing, but I still got to feed these 8,000
You got
people.
to.
Still got to.
Y'all ain't going to believe what happened out of that. So out of that, Public Supermarket showed up. Out of that, Athena Farms came up.
Come
out
on,
of
Jesus.
that, the Chicken Factory came up.
Come on,
out of
Jesus.
that, the Black Farmers Association for the state of Georgia came together. So we were getting truckloads coming in every day food. To the extent that I had to call 41 churches from Chattanooga, Tennessee to South Carolina to Alabama, saying, y'all, I got too much food.
Too much food.
Listen, when you trust God and don't compromise your position, it don't matter what is taking place, because God is Jehovah Jireh, not just in the tangible, but even in the realms of the supernatural that you can't even see.
Yes.
Oh, Lord, I tell you, that's powerful. My daughter's up here shouting in the car.
That's insightful. That's very insightful. That, but that's the spirit of the man who's in office. And praise God, he's going to be leaving. But how God blessed you for taking the stand that you took. Yeah. And God bless you with a blessing that you can't hold.
Man, listen, it's too much to keep.
That's where I got. I can't hold it. Trust God shaking over. You can't hold it all.
Right.
But I was wondering also. I'm gonna move on now. We needed like a couple hours for this, but
we can do a part 2 so I can go put my hat on. So I don't feel like I'm outside of it.
But I've noticed too, I guess it happened yesterday, because I, like many other people, love Stacey Abrams. And I guess now, people are saying that it's a fluke what you guys did in Georgia, and that you won't be able to continue to mobilize the system. I wonder what you have for that. And then also, if you guys are really ready for what they're getting ready to do to Stacey. I mean, a coach just got fired for calling
in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
From Chattanooga for calling her all kinds of names. She's gorgeous. Yes. She's absolutely gorgeous. But the way they come at Black women, not only for our mental acumen, but they come at us.
Yes. So Georgia broke the trend that they're going to have to write political science books about.
That's
so one of the things that I want your listeners to know is the presidential election was November 3rd. Mm-hmm. Our runoff election was January 5th. Mm-hmm. So this is for those who think it's a fluke. We organized, hear this, 100,000. I got to give you all this. 100,000 who didn't vote in the presidential election voted in this senatorial election. Stacey Abrams is a real patriot. There is nobody living who can take credit for registering 800,000 people to vote. So
800 women. Well, say that again. Say that just.
Stacey Abrams registered 800,000. I got to give you all this. New voters.
New voters.
New voters went to the polls this time because of her acumen. So those who think that it was a fluke or it had no real balance, you got to know. All I can tell you is wait till 22, because we can have a new governor in Georgia, and my girl is going to walk right through there. It's going to be an amazing.
I believe that, but like I said, my heart. In a special way that I think only a Black woman can understand is how it hurts us when people talk about our hair and our color. We're too dark, or we're too big, or we're too this, and we're too that, and you know we're supposed to have it all together and you know be able to handle it, but really inside it hurts.
No, and we saw
trying to do your work.
Yeah, the most vilified first lady in U.S. history was Michelle Obama.
But
the most vilified and the most educated. So you take away a lawyer and replace her with a porn star and don't understand the value and the depth and the worth of what a black woman represents. It shows you that the sheets have got to be pulled off.
Yeah. It has concern.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine with the unethical behavior of American politics? This is what I tell my daughters. Can you imagine with the unethical behavior of American politics that the only thing they could find about Stacey Abrams was her dress size?
She's
you gotta but you gotta let that
let that simmer.
You gotta let that sink in. That there are no scandals on her. That she has walked beyond reproach. That is operating in full integrity. And you want to talk about her dress size as an issue to somehow disqualify the merit of what she has brought to American politics says that we've already won.
Yeah, but see that touches on these stereotypes, you know, fat black women and that whole
trope. It's a trope.
Yeah. So where you got to be, they're not smart. And so they try to bring in these false stereotypes,
and as they do on black men, but being shiftless and criminals. And there was even a thing I was looking at that they were trying to make Reverend Warnock's skin darker, and I'm like, well, so what? If the skin is darker, I like chocolate, but that's supposed to be
for whites.
But also it pulls on the nerve of Americana narrative.
Yes.
That the most significant black women in the last 10 years, Michelle Obama and Stacey Abrams, because there's nowhere else but with you, Vicki, I can have this conversation, are both dark-skinned women. Now that's important because what is always projected on the screen is a mulatto fixture. They say that those are the characteristics of what beauty and acceptable beauty is supposed to look like. And so Michelle Obama and Stacey Abrams and Aunt Maxine Waters are disrupting that says, let me reclaim my time. Because it doesn't matter what it is that you think about me, you can't dismiss my thinking, my intelligence, and my brilliance. And so
we aren't hating on our lighter skinned sisters either. My mother used to tell me we're like flowers. We're so fabulous. We're everything. Whatever you want, we are that. But we went to see at Maxine Congresswoman Waters right before the election, like the voting was in November. And Pastor, this was the weirdest thing. We were inside of her polling place and her headquarters, and there were cars driving around the headquarters trying to threaten her. And Claude went outside. She says, oh, they're coming every day to intimidate at the polling places. I had never seen anything at the headquarters. It made me so angry that they would intimidate like that by driving their cars around all day. I was almost frightened to go outside.
Look, that magnifies for us in our post-traumatic people of black people. So imagine multiplying that intimidation if we didn't have camera cell phones. Multiply that intimidation of what our foreparents had to deal with when there were no cars. You had to walk home from the office. And so for us to live in that in 2021 really says that the vestiges of racism and white supremacy are still flagrantly amongst us.
Yeah, and we have to kick it off. And they would, some of, remember that one ad that they showed of Maxine Waters, and they took her face, distorted it.
They made her look like the Grinch.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it was just sad. It was just sad. Yeah. And they had the nerve to get a black dude to run against her and to be the mouthpiece of all of that.
Yeah, that's why we're really going to have to collectively, spiritually, and strategically protect our vice president. Because she's going to go through attacks that we've never seen before in this place.
She will.
Outside of the concerns about the health of the president, it is obvious she's going to emerge one way or another into that next step. And that's why I was concerned if we didn't get both Senate seats. Because it's going to require her to be a whole lot more active. But with this puts us at a different kind of playing field. But those of us in the community of faith are really going to have to keep her undergirded.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
So, I mean, I have two questions now. Where do we collectively, as not just Blacks, but there were so many white people and other people of color involved in BLM, where do we go from here? And then specifically, where are you going from here? Are you running for office? Just let us know.
No, ma'am. I'm going to be, listen. I don't have skeletons in the closet. I got a whole graveyard. I'm not running a dog catcher. No, listen, if y'all even hear I'm running, no, I have been.
We're going to call you. Hey, Jamal, you sure you want to do that?
They have put out a body double. No way in the world. But I am grateful to stand in a position of a prophetic witness. And I think that is the role and the responsibility of us as clergy, is to really cry loud and to spare not. The role of the prophet was never to be the emperor's friend. It was to call him into accountability. So isn't it amazing that Nathan never became governor, but he always had access to David? And so many of us in clergy, in the words of James Weldon Johnson, we get drunk with the wine of the world.
Yeah, you got drunk.
Is that stay in your position of what it is that you're supposed to do and really speak to it.
Wow,
Well, that's very important.
I just know I was so excited when I saw you. I think it was with the Freddie Gray problem and his being
he was murdered by the Baltimore.
That was right in my home of Baltimore.
Yeah, and I was seeing you.
But you were involved in some of the protests around that?
I was seeing you on CNN and MSNBC, and I was like,
I was one of the spokespersons for his family. When that happened, and I preached his eulogy just 3 hours before the uprising took place. So I was intimately involved in it.
Wow. Well, we're just so we want to be a support.
Yeah.
And we want other people. I mean, I listen. I don't know if you see me sometimes. I'm listening to you. On the live, preach the word. It was unbelievable yesterday. Last night, was it?
Yes. 2 nights ago.
Yeah, 2 nights ago. You guys, you've got to go see Pastor Bryant. How did we get there?
It's on my Instagram page. I lifted it up. Almost 100,000 people have gone to go look at it. So I ask that you all please go and look at it. Thank you for being my PR agent.
I mean, it was really good. People know I won't play. There was so much that I need to go back because I was like, listen to this man. And so we enjoyed that. And
that's right. I want to I know we're running out of time. Just your thoughts. Well, I can say I kind of know in a sense, but I just want to give you the opportunity to speak to it just a little bit about Black liberation theology, which I think that's. Does that define?
Yeah, I'm a product of that.
You're a product of that, okay.
Yeah, Dr. James Cone.
James Cone,
who actually came out of the AME Church, really originated that whole thought process of...
Could you explain it to those who might not know what that means?
Yes, Black liberation theology is really the anthropological apostolic authority of the church, that I'm not just talking about heaven, but really talking about shifting what's happening in the earth.
Sure.
From the vantage point and the responsibility of the Great Commission. As I said 2 nights ago, everything that the Black church should be doing is what the Black Panthers did do. And what I say to pastors,
Oakland.
well, see, I'm with y'all.
I know.
And so what I say to pastors all the time is that in 1968, J. Edgar Hoover said that the Black Panther Party was the greatest threat to democracy in this nation. This is 1968, after the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
The reason why that's significant and important is at the time, the Black Panther Party only had 300 members.
That's right.
And what I argue is, how did the Black Panther Party become a threat to the nation with 300? And we have mega churches with 13,000 that nobody know exists.
Because they were feeding the hungry back there in the Bay Area. And
in no middle school outside of Oakland, and no high school outside of Oakland, is anybody reciting a speech from Huey Newton. It wasn't the speeches that made them significant. It was their service.
That's right.
We are so, we are so caught up on talking that we are not demonstrating what it is that we're supposed to do. Right. And I think that there's a generation, your daughter trying to claim, but I'm not convinced. There's a generation.
Give it to me.
There's a generation coming that is not really about, do you know Greek and Hebrew and Aramaic, but are you serving the community? Are you doing, have you considered the poor? Are you doing anything for those who are being disenfranchised?
That's
right. And that's what people are really looking for in this hour.
Yeah. You know, my AME church during that time, and I might have it a little skewed, but I remember we were active and the Panthers were there, and the you know, the hippies and all that, and we were doing a lot of service. My mother became the first Black mayor of San Mateo, California.
Wow.
And they burned my St. James AME church down.
Wow.
I remember seeing it from my window in the back.
Yeah, the church is down around.
Wow.
It's like
burned down my church.
Wow.
And so
and so let me just say this: isn't it amazing that in this hour, all the people who claim to be prophets, that their churches require no security, because they are only promising cars and homes and checks, but they are not prophesying to institutions and powers and principality. The authentic prophetic witness is supposed to be offensive. If everybody likes what it is that you're doing, then it's not the real prophetic work. I tell the members of my church, if I don't make you mad or disagree with me twice to 3 times a year, you are not in the right church. Otherwise, I am a masseuse. My job is to be a chiropractor. I'm supposed to make you hurt till you feel better. I'm not supposed to ease you to be able to feel comfortable. And I think that this whole shifting of the pandemic will redefine what is the prophetic voice. Because when we go back in the churches, people are going to be listening to these so-called prophets. Like, now, where was you when COVID started?
Come
on. Where were you? And so what it is that we do in the church can no longer just be sound and fury. It's really going to have to be in the throne room of God.
Yeah. Pastor Donnie McClurkin is on, and he's saying serving the church, and I know they do a great job.
I love Uncle Donnie. He's the best.
We love you, Uncle
living
Donnie.
legend.
They
it's so important. So so those are the things, like, providing, being concerned, or single mother. So you say, well, you don't want them to have an abortion. Help them.
But you won't take care of their kids. When they have their kids,
well, that's the same thing of the evangelicals who claim to be pro-life. And they're not pro-life.
They're not pro-life.
They're pro-birth.
Thank you.
Because if they were pro-life, I want to know why no evangelicals spoke out for Breonna Taylor. No evangelicals said anything about George Floyd. Why it is that the Republicans don't start and finance what I'm a product of, Head Start programs.
Yes,
But they're not really for pro-life, they're just pro-birth, because once the black and brown babies get here, they no longer want to support.
They don't care.
And that's why
that's not true.
The black women die through their pregnancies a lot more than they're not even helping us all the way through the birth process.
Because it's all around health. It was never about our health or our strength. That's why we got food deserts. So we got to choose whether or not we're going to Wendy's or Chick-fil-A. And neither of them got anything green on the menu. So we are dying by the drug of convenience. And that most of our kids are eating out of white paper bags because that's what they have access to. So they have no idea what is the difference between an eggplant and a plum. They just know both of them are purple. But they have not been given any of it to be able to focus and to be able to move forward. So as a consequence, that great prophet Ice Cube, you got to check yourself before you wreck yourself. And there's got to be something of all-encompassing of our churches that are serving pound cake and fried chicken at the repast of our aunt that just died of hypertension.
Come on!
And so we serve the weapon that killed us. And at some point, we got to figure out where do we find that balance for us to be able to move forward.
And I think the key, that's key. That's key. And I think that this, Black liberation theology provides the appropriate framework for us to move forward, I believe, as Christians, Black Christians, to not only to push back the oppression of systemic racism, but to also to push forward, support, economic support, social support in our community. So that it's a key role that we have to play. And we don't have to be ministers. All of us don't have to be ministers, but we all, as believers, we all should be playing a part.
I got to say this, because y'all gave a shout out to Donnie McClurkin. I've got to shout out my big brother, Byron Cage, who's also on.
Yes,
I want to say this, Vicki, to your husband, as if he's not here, but he is here. I want to say this, and I want you to hear me well. And I'm going to give your husband a challenge of 24 hours. 24 hours. Here's your challenge. There would be no gospel music if it weren't for Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity.
I know it.
Listen to me. I want to make my case. I want to make my case. Omegas have contributed nothing to gospel. I want to help y'all to see. Wait a minute. Let me lay out my argument. Let me lay out my argument of Kappa Alpha Psi's contribution to gospel music more than any other fraternity. You ready?
No, I wouldn't argue that.
You got Byron Cage.
Come on.
Smokey Norfolk.
Come on.
Marvin Sapp. Lecrae.
Come on.
Who you got?
I tell you.
No, Kirk ain't no Kappa now. Kirk ain't no Kappa.
I'm going to tell you who we got.
We're going to make Kirk honorary Omega.
Centric and Be Right that funded half of those brothers.
Say it again. What you saying?
We got Gospel Centric and Be Right music that funded most of those brothers.
That's behind the scenes stuff I don't know. I'm going to have to text Byron right now. I'm texting Byron right now.
You know what, Pastor? We've got to go to part 2. Because we're getting ready to go back.
Byron said that Kirk Carr is a Sigma.
Pardon me?
Byron just wrote on the comments that Kirk Carr is a Sigma.
Okay.
That's appropriate.
Will you come? Pastor, you guys be quiet. You're making so much noise. Will you come back?
I would be delighted. You just got to give me enough time to go get me a hat so I can be in the family. I want to be in the family.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, Pastor,
but we really enjoyed you. You shared, you shared some things that were.
Oh, no, thank you all.
You have a voice that needs to be heard, brother.
Yes.
Thank you all for giving me one. Vicki, I want to plug shamelessly, because you always get people sending you their demos, people trying to get you to put them on. I want you to do one project for me. Can you do one project for me?
Well, I haven't been in it, but just pray in the spirit for Vicki Mac Lataya. We have something that may be coming up that's going to be pretty incredible.
You got
I believe it's going to
You
happen.
got to do it. You got to do it.
That'll allow us to do all those things.
I want you to do it. I want you to help me. I'm going to talk to you offline.
Okay.
Yes.
I want you to help me produce a spoken word album in the
Ooh,
line
yeah,
of
absolutely.
the dead poets.
Come on.
I was gonna say that.
You must
Yeah.
maybe run out the car.
We ain't talking.
Yes,
Nobody
please do
has it.
that.
It's going to interrupt the whole genre.
Yes.
And I
You
want
gotta
you to
speak,
think y'all
yeah.
heard it from me first. I
Yes.
want to do a whole spoken word album, put some jazz under it with a little hip hop, and let's change the whole game.
Okay, we got to do that.
If you sign somebody before me, nothing you do is gonna work out.
You know, I know you got to leave.
No, if
but,
it's letting us go, then we're fine.
But that doggone pastor, Donnie McClurkin, they went through a time because we had the McClurkins, and I love him so much. We had a meeting, and the folks that be and everything said, you need to drop them because they can't get a record out every now and then. Do you know what Donnie told me?
What?
He says, no, and we're going to do another record. I'm staying right here. God did not tell you that, and we did another record.
Listen to the prophet. Listen to the prophet.
I had sent them a letter and everything, and they told me, no, we don't receive that.
Wow.
And we just kept on going.
We got to do it.
Have you ever heard anything like that?
Donnie McClurkin is from Mount Sinai. Everything that he says.
He said, no, God did not tell you that.
He said, show enough. He said, show enough.
We just kept on moving on. So, well, praise God. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all. This has been a great hour. That time went by quick. Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you for coming to be with us and to share with us and to fellowship with us.
Yes.
So I enjoyed it. I mean,
I enjoyed it too.
And I want to say on record, I don't like how y'all treat my Omega brother. Y'all got all these stylish hats, and y'all just went by Foot Locker and put an Adidas hat on y'all. Y'all gotta come on now. Christmas just passed. Listen, we can't treat my man like this now.
If he doesn't want to listen to his stylist daughter, then we can only do so much.
Then I'm gonna let you buy my hat then. Send me my hat for the next show. Send me my hat.
And also, we go to a friend of yours, and we keep staying on. Dollhouse Boutique, which is also in Baltimore.
That's my girl.
Shout out to Natalie.
That is my girl. Natalie is my girl. She got something coming. I've been on her to make some men's clothes. So when you talk to her, tell her she owe me one.
Yeah, and when I get there, this is really the last thing. I heard about a plant-based burger you got up there.
What? Slutty vegan.
Slutty vegan.
Oh,
yes. We going. I got you. She's from Baltimore too. I got you. We can shut it down.
Okay. Baltimore in the house.
Yeah, so, all right. This time we're really saying bye.
All right. Love you all.
Everybody.
Thank you. Love you all.
Bye.
Hello.
What's
Thank
up?
you so much for watching Carfitable Talks.
Thank you.
Please remember to press that like button, and we need you to subscribe. And also,
leave some comments. We need to hear from you.
Thank you.